what is disruption today? You know, this, I think we talked about fashionable, but I truly believe it has got a significant impact. We have seen things happening, not just in shared services or business services, but across the business environment. How do you see disruption? Because I think it's important to hear from you as you see what is disruption in today's economy and what we are trying to do.
You're asking about robotics?
Yeah.
So after listening to Mr. Mercy, I feel that I am in some stone age, you know. So, and I have worked in manufacturing for 10 years,
Yes.
so I really know what is the speed at which things happen in manufacturing. But I must just take a step back and look at how, you know, shared services and GICs have really evolved, you know. So if you look at it, step one was all data entry. So we got the lowest end of the job, you know, whichever way it is. I heard say it's like crap or scrap, whatever, we got it and we started working on it. So that's like operations 1.0. And then we got rules-based processing, you know, that's 2.0. Then came knowledge-based processing, which we say KPO, etc. That is 3.0. And now it is 4.0, which is intelligent processing, you know, and if it is not disruptive, it's for existing.
Yes.
If we do not have intelligent processing, then I don't think we can exist. Forget about disruption. Now the reason for that is because there is a customer service proposition. What is the customer expecting? The customer is really forcing all these changes. Even in manufacturing, if you look at it, why that speed is because the customer is very agile. The customer has lot of expectation, increased expectation of customer. If I take a bank, let's take in India, hasn't it changed big time about what is the customer's expectation to get a home loan today to what it was 2 years ago, even 1 year ago? So to meet that, we have to get intelligent processing. And if you look at it, the other aspect is that till now, if you see shared services, we were always following. Something is thrown to us and we do it. But here is a great opportunity where we can lead. And what is robotics process automation? If you look at lean as a concept in manufacturing, which is getting big now in every other field, there is one form of waste, which is called as unused human intellect. So if you look at all the GICs and shared services, unused human intellect is the biggest form of waste. Because we get graduates and postgraduates, chartered accountant, even MBBS doctors are there in BPOs and shared services trying to do data entry, by the way. And they can do much more than that. Therefore, we are saying that what the technology can do, let technology do. It's not a great thing. Automation was done in manufacturing 30 years ago.
Very right.
Taichi Ono, who wrote about continuous improvement, disruptive, I think he died 50 years ago. Like in 1960s, that book came which says Toyota Production System. So it's not new. The reason why it is new in banking and other shared services industries is because we had lot of money. When we have lot of money, we never think of improvement, unfortunately. But now that those days are changing, organizations our principals and core organizations are expecting us to deliver much more than what was expected. Necessity is the mother of invention, somebody told that. Therefore, we have to go into process automation. There's no doubt about it. What technology can do, let technology do. Human beings can do something more important than even that. So robotics is not like in Mission Impossible, you get 10 people coming in and just eats up all the transactions. That's not what is exactly what's happening. It is about mimicking human action to start with. Very quickly we will get into artificial intelligence. And let me tell you that exception processing will be done, but it is based on the brain of people.
Absolutely.
So people write rules, people train these robots or technology software, and based on the training that we give, it will manage exceptions and it will self-heal. So for example, I give insurance number is 11508 for a customer. Suppose that insurance number is changed. Today what do? We keep an Excel sheet and say, Pankajam's old number is this, new number is this. Then somebody will cut and paste the new number into the form and then do the processing. That's what we do today. But that's not necessary when you have robotics. It will say, this was the old number, it keeps it in the brain, so the brain is bigger than that of a human being because we build it, and then it just self-heals. So I really have lot of respect for human race. So when this happens, jobs will disappear. But the jobs that we do today will definitely disappear. But there will be other jobs coming in because as human race, we are far superior to this. So in 80s when computers came, we said that all people will lose jobs. But that's not the case today. It built more jobs. We have progressed big time. But the current job of what we are doing in operations 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, there will be definitely elimination of jobs, no doubt about it. And leaders have to put in a lot of effort to get this going, because I really like, because all of us ask why. And you know, there's a concept called let's ask 5 whys, 10 whys, and then we never get to do it. So I really liked it, saying that how. Just ask how and it happens.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, actually one of the things I would say, all the 4 of us come from manufacturing background, and I truly believe what is happening in the shared services is, I used to say that, many people have heard it, manufacturing is the mother of all business processes and IT is the father. With these 2 things you are making whatever is happening. I think it's very well put, and we will draw upon manufacturing today in our conversation. Narayan and you again come from manufacturing and IT, and I've seen.
The first phase is essentially trying to get all the wasteful processes within a business or even within the manufacturing thing to get it into, you know, center, consolidate, see how we can optimize, economize. You know, that was one stage. The next stage said, okay, having done that, can we standardize everything? You know, instead of somebody thinking I will do it this way, second person thinking I'll do it some other way, can we standardize the rules, regulations, etc. That was another stage, because you've got everybody together, right? So that was another kind of evolution. The third kind of evolution, okay, now we have got, okay, how can we optimize, how can you know, get more value to be added. So more and more, whether you call it KPO, whether you call it LPO, you know, all kinds of terms and terminologies got used. And then, you know, things like HR came, okay, can you do IT as well? Can you do, you know, in addition to finance, can you do supply chain? You know, everything else joined the bandwagon. You know, that created a huge base. Now it is the stage of automation, robotics. I think robotics, sometimes when I think myself, robotics probably a wrong terminology. It is automating all the wasteful movements that the person does, right? I would simplify that to say automating it and cutting waste. Lean, Six Sigma are probably good words to use rather than robotics, because robotics many times creates that, as Pankajam said, creates that, you know, within the human mind and human brain, oh, is my job going to be there or not?
Yeah.
Of course job is going to be there. We are only automating it, we are only simplifying things, right?
No, I think you're
So
right.
that is the next stage of evolution.
Robotics has been used in manufacturing years back.
Correct.
I
so
think,
that,
you know,
I think that's the same terminology.
and that's the kind of replication which is happening,
Correct.
you know,
The
in
same-
terms of what is really happening. And to the extent today, you know, I think we talked about that if you really, you know, for instance, I was visiting Volvo plant, where the powertrains are done in indoor for all over the world. The robots do that, you know.
Yeah.
I think in the manufacturing environment, the number of people who do it, what needs to be done, what needs to be assembled, and so on, and that error-prone situations can be avoided. I think that same kind of technology can be now used to remove the waste which the intelligent people are
Absolutely.
actually wasting, you know.
Today, the other side of the coin is, while we are talking about shared processes, services, etc., the other side is this, businesses today require to be agile.
Yeah.
Speed is of essence,
Yes.
right? You want it today, you want it yesterday. I don't want it now, I want it yesterday, I wanted it. You know, that's the kind of speed, whichever function you are within a business, not only in manufacturing but everywhere, speed is the requirement of the day. That's required for competing in the business place, in the market.
Picking on that point, you know, how do you see the agility? And I think you talked about it, and I think if we can, how is agility coming into the business services place now? I mean, while it has been there, now it's more and more coming in the manufacturing environment. How is it coming into the business services space? as you see it? It's much beyond Solvay, but based on your experience as you see it.
So I will use the reference of the .1, the .2, the .3, and the .4. I like that very much. Because I would say that the biggest challenge we have on agility today, if you are a .1, you have no recognition in terms of strategic position. That means you have the pressure of the market, and you are just there supposed to serve on all the exception coming from the business. You cannot discuss it, it's just do it, keep your mouth shut, you are supposed to be low cost. This is the way I see my travel expense. So the .1 is very difficult. The .2, you started to build credibility. So the concept of being agile, it's when the strategic value will be granted to GBS.
Yes.
To say you are part of the model, because just to produce, just to sell is not enough. All the rest is as essential as that. Then you will become to be a part of agile.
Yeah.
Then the speed, you will just to have to learn to run without gasoline. Because nobody is giving you money, because every time money is available, it has to go to the business.
Yeah.
So you have to create your own resource to move.
I think this is one of the reasons why we were thinking of this topic today. Is now agility in technology or disruption in technology is now people are realizing it. Just nothing. Nobody can escape it. But how is this agility or disruption, if it has really get a full value? I'm using the word how, Guy, as you said. How is it going to get translated to people? I think, are people becoming agile to adapt this agility? Are business processes by themselves becoming agile? Because one of the things I've seen, that the best of systems, and when I talked about SAP, I feel there are companies which they use only 40% of the features of the SAP. SAP can do 100 things. But then we use only 40% because we just don't really fully leverage it. So how is this practices and thinking of people and processes can be brought into the agility and disruption and innovation? That's, I think, is an important topic. Maybe Pankajam, you can kickstart again.
I think, we touched upon it a little bit, is about, creating the culture of being change agents.
Yes.
So change is not a stress. If there is no change, there is stress.
Yes.
And this is generally, it has to be led by senior leadership. When I say led, it can't be lip service. So if I say that you have to be agile, then there should be no decision that is pending with me more than for 2 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yes.
It depends on what is the agility you want to build in the team. And I think, I go by this a little bit, is that you find people, you don't find everyone equally agile, but you will definitely identify a set of people who can come along with you to create that leadership in the organization.
Yeah.
And one way is, I call it as foxes, because you identify the fox and you have a team with you. The other thing is, if you create the interest to learn, and I've termed one word also called employability. People like to learn. They like to learn new things. Our youngsters, if you look at the entire GICs and shared services, the average age will be 26, 27.
Yeah.
We have to really create the culture of pride. If I change, if I innovate, if I am passionately curious, if I really do differently a process every day, it's not like, I say this change, have some dinners and lunches and have PPTs and then say we have changed. It doesn't work.
Yes.
It is about empowering people, just like what you were just mentioning. It is about empowering the people who are really doing the process. It's about leadership getting a place at this table.
Yeah.
And it is about combined ownership. It is not about just following. It's combined ownership. I stand up and I show that I'm worthy to sit on the table.
Yeah.
And here is a great opportunity for us to lead and show that in operations 4.0 we are the leaders. So I think we need very strong leadership, and it's also about creating the right team around us. If I think that I am the best, I want everyone around me not even as good as me, then I'm creating a minion team. I'm creating a follower team. But if I say that all the people can be better than me so that I have my job, then I'm creating a giant team. I'm creating the best team under the sun. And if leaders do that at every level, then we have a great team, and I don't think that change will be difficult. But unless we change with quickness, I keep telling my team that short term is like 1 day, long term is 1 week.
That's true,
medium term is 2 weeks. If we get into that kind of a culture, which we don't have, by the way, we are saying 4 months to release a product, and I'm already thinking 4 months, nothing should be, more than that. But I must tell you, I learned a lesson from one of my bosses. He said that he took 11 minutes to decide his wife. Decide on his marriage, and he says that no other decision is worth more than 11 minutes. So, isn't it? So, some of these things we have to benchmark with the lowest, common denominator and say that this is what I will do to make the decision.
Absolutely.
So, it's not about lip service, it is about doing and showing that things can change fast.
Yeah, and I think Narayan, you have enough visibility in terms of Indian people, and whether it's GICs or SSCs, at the end of the day, we have to look at the kind of systems and processes which we have. How do you see that mindsets to be changed? One is the leadership drive, but for the people at large, what kind of mindsets, how do you really make that change happen?
No, I think GICs, again, going back 1.0, 2.0, right? GICs by nature, the mindset is very different to a traditional business environment. Right. They are very process oriented, standards oriented, delivery focused, etc., etc. So there is a big shift and change from the time you moved the business processes from an in-house setup into a GIC setup. The second aspect is, okay, GICs can then sit on laurel saying, I'm processing 50 invoices per day, 500, whatever, 1 million, 2 million, that's right, 2 million by 2 people, 1 million by 1 person, all that, we can sit on those kinds of laurels. But ultimately, 627,000. But ultimately what is important is productivity. That goes without saying for everybody, whether it is in the traditional environment or in a GIC environment. And therefore, what does productivity mean? What's the turnaround? And therefore, necessarily you cannot sit on laurels and you have to keep changing.
Absolutely.
Right? And that, I suppose, the mindset has been coming, mindset is there, and otherwise you will just perish.
You have now kind of interacted with multiple centers, and multiple, kind of locations. How do you see the agility or the mindset to change is happening? It's not about India, but I think it's about the mindset of people wherever they are. How do you see that?
I was surprised that by creating shared services, I used to work with average age 26 years old, and thank you, ladies. 67% lady in Lisbon. And your question, not now. I'm surprised. So at that time, I got an extraordinary agile population, with whom, in fact, the problem was called retention. And so, by calling that retention, is that you just try to block this agility to go out. And today I try to promote this agility to go out, because we are facing aging. The average age today, it's 30 years. And this is 7 years after, we are 30. That means a lot of people started to get used to and don't change. So I do believe that the people is the right question. Tool is a revolution, but example, I knew that when I was visiting in the region, I used to have a driver. It was like, oh, Mr. Mercier is coming, driver. Today, I said, do you know it's Hola? And then it's almost to say, Guy, not worry, this is the software, you download it, you call it, and there is no issue, we pay for you the Hola, but use your Hola.
And they don't own any car, they're only an aggregator.
So this is what's happening. So myself, I have the choice, which is what? No, wait a minute, this is not my job, So everybody has to adapt. The problem is that I do not believe that it's the oldest generation we used to know as traditional who will take more time to adapt. I do believe the real challenge will come with these new millennials. They don't want to work. In terms of what? They want to get fun and money quickly. In between, nothing. I saw that. Even why to spend 5 years in university? I know everything on Google. When I try to explain chemistry to my son, say, wait a minute, Dad, your formula was wrong. Look, beep, 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 beep. And on the PV equal nRT, he said, no, I can tell you that. And I'm amazed in that. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do with this population who will not even come to work to say, but why do you want me in office? I can do everything from everywhere. So the speed will push every layer of the population to adapt, and I'm like you, the successful company will be the company who will allocate a big chunk of the budget for training.
Yeah.
Training in terms of self-training. Don't put them in a room. You just tell them, this is what we expect to come, to happen. You have the choice, this is what we are giving to you, learn. If you want, you can adapt. If you don't learn, we cannot force you to learn.
And I also want to add that, we give credit for change. So, we very publicly say in ANZ that if you are running an operations, for example, or a technology, if everything goes smooth, the business as usual work goes smooth, your team gets credit.
Right.
If it doesn't go smooth, you get discredit. But you get credit for change.
Yes.
You get credit for improving things, So if we can tie our performance, because everyone understands that language, by the way. So if our performance management is linked to change and is linked to continuous improvement, that's really good. That's what manufacturing does.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think you touched upon this topic of change. I think one of the things I've seen, people tend to talk about innovation management and change management, or disruption management and change management as two different topics. But pretty much, I feel disruption, does change precede disruption, or does change happen after disruption? What's your take on this? I think you can.
I think somehow, as I think you gave a very good way of saying that what is innovation and what is invention, disruption. But irrespective of whether you embrace disruption or not, change is needed in every individual.
Right.
He just spoke about how he is trying to change to what his son wants him to do. And my son tells me that just because you didn't do it doesn't mean I have to do it. So change is very, very critical, because the world is different. The world that we live in today is very different from the world that we live in tomorrow. So if we have to become relevant, if we have to be relevant, we have to change.
Yes.
And disruption doesn't happen. See, technology disruption, everybody talks about it a lot. But if you look at Google and all the big technologies, they talk about making service to customer exemplary. They say that we want to give outstanding service to customer, and we are innovating for that. You look at Microsoft, Google, any group, any highly technology driven organizations talk about the pull from the market, from customers, to beat the market, not even meet expectations, but to beat expectations. Yes. So change is inevitable.
Narayan, I know you have been an award winner for security in the area of specialization. One of the challenges people face when they look at such new automations and so on, is this secure? Are we trying to do something which is, we don't know, what's going to happen? How can I allocate the responsibility, if something is going to be disruptive or robotics? How do you see security impacting people's adoption to these kind of changes?
I don't think anybody questions that. That's taken for granted, right? Because those are all looked at today as impediments, right? Again, why is this secure if I start asking? It's looked as a speed breaker. Nobody likes that, and I don't think that's the right attitude and approach as well. Instead, the approach is, how can I make it more secure? How can I make it foolproof? And how can I ensure that all the privacy laws, data retention laws, etc. can be taken? You just do it, tell them it is all safe, secure. Right? The initial days, maybe 10 years ago, you could create a huge this saying, okay, there is something called internet, your websites have to be secure, you need to update these patches, do we do penetration testing, all that was there. That was possibly in another era now, as it, if I look back. Today,
Coming from a banking industry which is highly regulated,
taken for granted.
how do you see that comment? What do
No,
you?
really, I must be honest, there's fear of security. There's no doubt about
Not
it.
fear of
because-
insecurity.
No, there is fear of security because he's saying that it's a technology.
Yeah.
Suppose it makes a mistake and sends 700 million to another bank and then we are over, like the treasury changes the position. So, but they're on one transaction. But if you do robotics, it can even make errors on 1,000 transactions
Yes.
because it's the same
replicates.
software. It can replicate. But there are a lot of mitigations because we do unit testing, then we do user acceptance testing, then we will say that somebody can look at it before, like check on the numbers, some numbers. We can do blind verification. So we do a lot on this. But surely that fear of will it do, if it is supposed to paint a car, will it paint the door of the car or the car is always in the minds. But that's because it's a new technology and we are resistant to change.
Absolutely.
But the minute we bring in design thinking, which is not there in shared services and GICs a lot, design thinking. If the minute we bring in design thinking, which is core to manufacturing, if you look at it, every employee in manufacturing has design thinking as a concept.
Yes.
If we bring that in and work in a controlled environment, I think the mitigation is there and fear will be gone.
So, Guy, how do you see the security? Because I think this is something which has been in minds of people and,
Yeah, I do believe this is a big competitive advantage we can create as a shared service organization because, as I told you when we met this morning, it's like an empire. If you are spread, if you have a large empire, it's very easy to tell to Napoleon or Caesar to say, larger is your empire, more difficult is to protect it. But when you are centralized, or at least when you give the authority to a centralized and smart organization, and we saw that with the SOCs, when the shared service organization were able to create value from India to just confirm that what we are paying the right amount to the right supplier on the right way. And that was all the generation 10 years ago of the shared services becoming the mecca of quality management, ISO certification. That's where we didn't move for labor arbitrage, but we moved here for quality system because you were certified. So what I do believe it's here, no security, it's even the next step the shared service can go for themselves, but for the business too. To say, do you know if your business data in the plant are protected? The best way to protect your business data is just let me manage that for you.
Yeah.
Because this is part of our everyday life. So I do believe that security is one of a niche approach where shared service, without significant additional cost, with a small, smart team, can start to make intrusion tests, helping the business for what they are not good at.
Absolutely. Just one, I'm sure, given the robotics which has been implemented in ANZ, just spend a minute to share with the team, audience, that how did you identify it and what kind of areas have actually been implemented under RPA, so that the areas are also understood, specifically.
So I think why we started was to resolve a business problem.
Right.
So if you look at it, we have close to around 4,000 employees working in the operations area. I'm removing the team that works on payroll and which we call as shared services, but core operations team that support customers. But let's take home loans for example. If there's a marketing that is done in Australia, New Zealand, the volumes increase. So high volumes and high volume variability, we couldn't manage it. The only way we used to do is to go and hire.
Right.
If you hire people, then they have a time to get trained and certified and all that. If you keep a bench, that is cost. So how do we create this business fungibility was the problem that we wanted to solve. And that's when we embarked on robotics, because that is the way to create fungible capacity. not because robots will work very fast and create productivity, but at least they don't need bio breaks and lunch breaks and coffee breaks. So automatically 20% productivity increase. So we started like that, but we wanted the team to, we started by saying that let's light fires or create the swell in the team.
Yeah.
So surely I'm very passionate. When somebody asks me, I say, who's the project manager for robotics? I say, it's me.
Yeah.
Even now I'm the project manager. I'm trying to give it to Sanjay Dora, just trying. But it's like you're the project manager. And we didn't form a team like a team to manage the project. There's nobody. I have other things to do also.
Absolutely.
But we created a swell on the floor by saying that we can convert all this data entry work. We can get technology to do it. So we started like that.
Excellent.
And we went with one of the vendors of automation. There are lots of vendors, but we went with one of them. We just got their product in. We did minimum technology reviews to make sure that nothing breaks, and we started trying. So when we say trying, we call it as try-storming, and we, instead of brainstorming, just go and try and do.
Try-storm.
So we tried it in multiple areas first, in small 5 or 6 processes to start with, and we saw success. And then while we went through the big technology interventions are going on, we looked at high volume processes, some managers who are very keen to do the work. So it is not like a very structured way, but we just got people to get interested and said, put some rules saying that standard process will be automated, the exceptions will be managed by SMEs, for example. Go after high volumes.
Yeah.
So we didn't focus on reducing FTEs, that is not our focus. It was to improve the process and make customer service better.
And then the fungibility was a fantastic.
And definitely we'll get FTE benefit. What is the doubt about it? There's only one definition for productivity, according to me, what I learned, and that's cost reduction.
Yeah.
Everything else is just to say that we don't want to say that we want to reduce cost. There is no other definition for productivity. So now we have multiple processes. You asked me which processes are in our automation.
Yes.
So we have financial planning processes, we have payments, we have parts of home loans, we have payments and trade, we have some trade finance,
Yes,
we have.
yes.
My team can help Sanjay, Emma, and in invoicing, but it's nothing. We are in stone age compared to what you have achieved, but little bit in invoicing. We have not started artificial intelligence. We are trying that. We have again got 1 or 2 projects, where we are trying a proof of concept, where we convert scanned document. Unfortunately, we even now get scanned document, which we normally do an optical character recognition, but you know that a TIFF file you cannot really do OCRing because it's not worth doing it. So we are trying some new technology through artificial intelligence to convert it into digital form. So we have had 3 principles. One is small projects which the team members want because we are empowering. Then we have 1 or 2 big processes where we are doing end-to-end process automation, which we have succeeded, like audit certificate is one area. And the third one is we are trying an entire product line, which is work in progress.
Excellent. Just to build on this, Narayana, is disruption today only robotics or are there anything else which are coming up? I'm going to, of course, request this for each of the people to give responses. Are we looking at disruptions in GICs and shared services? Much more than this. I mean, one is what is happening today. What can happen in the future, as you see it?
I don't know whether you can predict, gone are the days when you can predict 5 years hence how the world would be. Because today we are running on a very high speed treadmill and change is the order of the day. Who thought that first 10-15 years ago a shared service setup will come? Who thought 2.0, 3.0, etc. will come? Who thought probably robotics will come? So much so that I think a couple of days ago Economic Times headlines was IT recruitments have hit all-time low, right? From X to Y, all because of robotics in shared services, right? So the model is very unpredictable. What will happen, how it will happen, I think if anybody can say with certainty that in 2020, 2025, this is how the world will look like, or this is how the SSCs will look like, I will
Discount it.
discount it 100%. Now, having
Although there are predictions which says 50% of the jobs will be automated and people will.
so all that possibly is a
15% in 1 month.
so she is.
What about, how do you see that, Guy? You know, is a disruption happening beyond robotics and intelligent automation?
Disruption is only productivity improvement. Ultimately, I agree. Ultimately, cost productivity improvement.
That's
the denominator. That's the denominator.
Yeah.
How about customer value creation? Is there anything which is touching that or is not?
I think, analytics will take a very key change. Today, you have so much of information. Imagine millions of transactions with us, but we really don't look at what is behind the transaction.
Yes.
Just imagine if you put everybody's brain into one transaction, every transaction that goes through the bank, you can really help customer, for example, to say you're in the coals business, 80% of your business is in this area and that area is risky. So you can do diagnostics for your customer, that's a value add, and you can do lot of diagnostics for yourself because you're saying that this is a customer who gives us every month there is a transaction coming and I know that transaction takes 25% of my effort, so let me plan for it in advance. That's called as optimistic prosing. So today we don't do that, we do prosing when it hits us.
Yeah.
But we can do optimistic prosing, we can do prosing in such a way that all the troughs and heights, that is eliminated. So it becomes standardized. So I think I am very sure, but it is not 10 years. In 1 year's time, our people will be doing lot of analytics sitting on the sites. They will not do processing, but they will do basic analytics which will help in self-healing and improving customer service and help in getting us more business. So data analytics is going to come big time.
And what's your view on analytics, Guy?
I fully agree. This is the value creation. So I do believe that the cost reduction, even if it's a consequence of productivity, the first stone age of shared service was to go for cost reduction, labor arbitrage, lean, productivity, etc. I do believe that that definition of shared service will disappear. And the competition is computer, or the competition is just to keep it, you remember KISS, keep it simple and safe and stupid. The problem is we forget to teach the business to keep it stupid. They are making things complex with no value added. So what I do believe is that, like you, is that we will go towards analytic in value creation. And the one who will be able to go there will be the new generation of shared services. A lot of people will not be able to cope with, that means the operators, the way they operate today. This type of operators, the same as you mentioned, the age of computers, those operators will disappear. The new experts, which say, I can pilot from distance the business life and I can tell to the business and to the customer what's happening on time, live, that's where we will see that. The problem with analytics is that we have too much data today.
Yeah.
And so the